Now, in April, we interviewed Sarah Khumalo here on the program prior to her journey to become the very first black woman to summit the world's highest peak, Mount Everest. She was going to try set a new benchmark along with seasoned mountaineer Sibusiso Vilane. After they arrived at base camp in the evening of the 18th of April, tragedy struck higher up as around about 15 Sherpas were preparing the climbing routes. There's a story that's quite dramatic that follows, and they're in the studio to tell us about this. Good to have both of you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
So this was, I mean, the excitement around this was massive. You were here, you were telling us about the story, and I mean, we were following you, and this was a rather tragic story, and we're glad that you're here to tell us what actually happened.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement. I was excited myself, and sadly on the 18th, it's very early in the morning, we had an avalanche. Every day, every evening actually at base camp, you hear avalanches, so it was something that we had most nights. But this time it was quite close and it was very loud. So when we woke up in the morning at 7, well, after the avalanche actually, helicopters started, going around, because you have helicopters that come for rescue, that deliver supplies and so forth. Yeah. And walkie-talkies all over the camp started going loud. They were speaking in Nepali, so you couldn't really figure out what they were talking about, but you could realize that something was going on and something had gone wrong. And later on, initially we're told there might be fatalities, so you kind of cling to the might be, you know. And when we realized that later on that it was 16 Sherpas, it just changed the dynamic. You know, the camp was sad. I'm a novice mountaineer, so looking at people that have done it a lot more, you try and read their faces. You know, am I the only one that's freaked out? Is everybody freaked out? You know, how is everybody taking it? Yeah,
does this happen often? Does this not happen often? Is this normal? But there really is nothing normal, Sibusiso, about losing, what did you say, 15 or 16?
16.
16 Sherpas' lives. And Sherpas, for those that don't know, these are really the guides, hey? That almost send you on their way.
Yes.
I mean, that's a dramatic ending.
Absolutely. No, it was very devastating, because I think even the timing of the accident was just wrong, because all the teams had just arrived at base camp, so this was just the early stages of the expedition when everyone else was very excited about it, and we were only about 3 or 4 days at base camp, Sarah and our teammates, that the accident happened. So we didn't really have much time to climb higher than base camp, and the accident happened along the route between base camp and Camp 1. This area is obviously known to be the very dangerous part of the climb quite early on the expedition. But hearing that avalanche on the 18th and hearing that it has taken 16 lives really was quite something else. In as much as you read about accidents on mountains, but this was the worst ever in many, many years to happen on Everest.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I mean, this is just it's a dramatic story, and I don't know, is it an end to the dream, or are you going to try and do this again, Sarah?
Absolutely not. It's not there.
You haven't been put off?
No. It's a setback, sad that people have lost their lives, but I believe that I'm a better mountaineer than the first time I went to Nepal and stepped on the mountain. And I am definitely going to try again.
Yeah. Yes. Even the reality of what just happened. I mean, it's always nice when the adventurers such as yourselves come in and you talk about this amazing mission that you'd gone on and how you accomplished it. But when you sit here and you talk about the death of 16 Sherpas that were just before you, and I mean the reality is it could have been you, but thankfully it wasn't you. Does it question inside you, why do I do this? Should I do this, or should I rather say, thank you for the time I've spent doing it. I've summited Everest twice. I'm never going to do it again.
I think it does. It does really come back to you, and you ask yourself those questions. But again, you go back to relate other stories and accidents that happen everywhere. It could have been anywhere. I hear that aeroplanes disappear with 200 people. Cars involved in big accidents. So you realize that life is part of those things to be faced in our life, and therefore you can never be put off by them because there was an accident that happened there. because it might happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And like you say, it could have been anybody, but on this specific time, it was the poor or unfortunate Sherpas that lost their lives then. It is when you come to terms with that fact that you realize, you know what, then I'm not going just to be put off or stop doing what I love doing, what I enjoy doing, what I'm doing with a sense of purpose, and therefore you just keep going.
Because I mean, you've summited Everest twice, 2003, 2005.
Yes,
What
yes,
else? I know you've done Kilimanjaro.
I have, I summited Everest, and then I went on to climb what is known as the 7 summits, which obviously I became the first black person to do the 7 summits. I'm very proud of coming from South Africa and the continent. And then I went on to walk to the South Pole, and I've been to the North Pole, so I'm here being one of the very few that have done what we call the Grand Slam of adventuring, which is standing on the highest point on Earth and going to the North and South Pole. I've done all of those things. Yeah. And multiple Kilimanjaro summits and everything. But obviously, I do some of those things, not just for myself, in as much as it is a personal ambition, but I've found a way to link them to some charities that I support, and some of them, and that's what keeps me going.
How boring it must be for you to be sitting in a normal chair
exactly.
in the normal environment, just talking to us.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the television cameras are giving you a bit of an adrenaline rush.
It is very, very difficult. I can't stand this, actually. Yeah, no,
oh my
true,
gosh, to find excitement in the normal average day, I can't imagine.
No, it's not very easy.
No, it's not.
No.
Sarah, but like you're saying, this is not the end for you. I mean, you're going to do this again. Have you already started planning? When?
Our permits have been extended for the next 5 years. Okay. But sooner rather than later. Yeah. I think, and with Sibusiso as my mentor, I'm sure it'll be sooner.
You'll do this again. And let's just remind viewers, this is all in aid of a charity called the Lunchbox Fund.
Yes.
Talk to us about this again.
So the Lunchbox Fund is an NGO that fosters education through nutrition, and what they do, which I love, is they bring food to schools, and they serve food during break to vulnerable and orphaned children in villages and townships. And I like it because it's not just giving kids fish, but it's teaching them how to fish. It's making sure that they get the education that they need for the future, and also feeding them to make sure that they're healthy and are doing well in school. This is how they're looking after our next generation, and I'm very proud to be part of that.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're glad you're safe, we're glad you're back, and I know these ambitions are not ending. Sibusiso Vilane, who is someone to be so proud of here in South Africa, who has done so much, and Sarah Khumalo, who wants to follow in those footsteps. Both of you, thank you for being with us, and,
thank you.
And good luck going forward.
Thank you very much indeed
for having us. It's an absolute pleasure. Let's take